Okay, let's see. And it looks like we're live on YouTube, but there's no stream coming through. Okay, there we go. And let's go live on Instagram. Checking connection. Sweet. And I'm live on Instagram as well. So I'll give a few for people to join. What up, everyone in the chat? Happy 420, I guess. Dogecoin day. What's up, J-Bar? Hey, guys, as you come into Instagram. Yo, Sam Financial. Representing the Discord. And then, yeah, for everyone on Instagram, I'm also live on YouTube if you want to see my screen. And then for all the trivia stuff that we normally do every week, that will also be on the YouTube as normal. So 5 trivia questions throughout. We'll have some fun and all that good stuff. So how about the last 2 days? The stock market doesn't only go up, but realistically, I mean, the stock market really hasn't pulled back that much. If you look at like the stock market as a whole, and I pretty much always look at SPY, or the S&P 500. I don't know about everyone else, but that's pretty much what I go off of when I say the market. That's what I'm talking about. And like if you just look at just like the simplest technical indicator, which I use all the time, but it is really simple. It's just RSI. We were, above 70 for a couple weeks, and this like 2% pullback is totally normal. I've never gotten to ask you what's your background like, what got you into trading. Not William. This is on Instagram. So just give everyone a little background on me. Went to school at Indiana University, finance and accounting guy, and pretty much have worked in the corporate finance world since I graduated. The VIX bounce. Yeah, the VIX got a little bit of juice, but I mean, if you look at the VIX really quick here, I kind of look to see a retracement back to like that 50-day moving average on the VIX. And if we can do that, that's probably when the market, that's when I kind of look for maybe some consolidation. But we'll have to play it by ear. Get those notifications on. What's up, Fernando? But yeah, so back to the market just in general. I think what is it? Down 2%, 1.5%. I mean, 2 down days in a row, and people are going nuts. Now, granted, if you are in just all growth stocks, which for me, I'm not 100% in growth. I try to diversify. These past couple months have been tough. Basically, since February, growth has just continued to grind lower. And I would just say, if you're still comfortable with those positions that you bought, and it's a long-term hold, like there shouldn't be any issues. But from like a short-term standpoint and like their valuations, I think there's still room for growth to go down. Unfortunately, I know everyone's like, well, the stock was at 40, it's now at 20, it's cheap. Not necessarily. I mean, when you look at stocks and kind of how much they ran up in 2020, I mean, there was a lot of premium built into some of these names. And then if SPACs just in general are just absolutely slaughtered now. It's funny because SPACs just seem so easy to make money at the beginning. It was the end of 2020. I forget when everything basically ended. But at the end of 2020, you threw money at any SPAC, and it literally just printed money. I think I made a joke video about it, where it's just like you invest in anything and you get, like 100% return in a week. Well, I think SPACs are officially over in terms of just like crazy gains for no reason. Obviously, if some merger gets announced and it's a great name, a stock or a SPAC can still go up. But the days where it's just like, hey, a SPAC was released, and it would trade instantly at a 20% premium. I remember just like scratching my head thinking, what is going on? Why are these SPACs just going nuts? And finally, it seems like the market is kind of corrected. Yeah, Fernando, I did want to talk about Netflix. Thanks for bringing that up. But Netflix down 8% after hours. I didn't look too much into the details, but obviously the giant reason that's staring in everyone's face is the subscribers are down. So subscribers were expected to be 6.29 million versus 3.98 million. They basically, they didn't miss by half, but they missed, 2 million subscribers basically in the first quarter versus expectations. And since subscribers is what drives revenue, the stock is reacting negatively. And honestly, like, Netflix is one of those companies that I haven't invested in a while, just because for me, I've kept on saying, like, AT&T, who else do we have? We have Disney. All of these companies are coming out with their own streaming service, and literally it's all about content now. So Netflix is no longer, I don't know, like, the technology isn't that amazing, right? Like, every platform is the same. That's what made Netflix so amazing at first. And now, like, if they're losing the content, they're going to lose all their subscribers. So I think for Netflix to continue to grow, they have to continue, obviously, growing, like, their subscribers and doubling down on content. But I think they almost have to branch out into something else. I don't know. It's just, for me, it's just like, okay, now if everyone is getting in the game and there's more and more competition, less and less margins, more and more content, I think they're in trouble. Not in trouble. I just think they're trading at a premium. Here, let me pull it up on my screen. Because they're currently trading at a PE of 90, right? And if you look at, hold on, let me pull the statistics. Basically, they need growth at least, for me, like 45% for the next 5 years for, like, earnings. And I just think with that slowdown in subscribers, it'll hurt them a lot. Okay, let's talk about something other than Netflix. I gotta talk about certain things just because I have them on my mind, and I'm like, all right, I gotta talk about Netflix because they just came out with earnings. Okay, there's a bunch of comments. Let's see. Yep, growth got murdered. Is Doge okay? We'll talk about Doge, quickly, and then probably at the end too, just because it's crazy what's going on with Dogecoin. I made that joke video about Doggy going to the moon. I know it's called Doge, but currently at 34 cents. I don't think it's gonna get to $1 before 12 o'clock. I don't see it happening. I don't see it tripling. I mean, I'm amazed at the fact that it even got to 34 cents. Because, if you don't know this already, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know this, basically Dogecoin has unlimited supply. So, if you just Google Dogecoin supply, basically every minute 10,000 Doge is created. So the buying pressure for Doge has to just keep maintaining itself at that pace in order to even keep this price. I mean, as soon as people start to realize that maybe it doesn't get to $1, I was going in today thinking that it'd kind of be like, buy the rumor, sell the news. This would be the news, like, oh, it's 420, Doge is going to the moon, Doge is going to $1, and then, because it's not, everyone starts to sell, everyone panics, and then it crashes. I mean, for me, I think it happens over this next week. Maybe we get one more pump. I thought, honestly, maybe there's a chance that Dogecoin goes to like 70 cents, 80 cents, and then everyone just gets out before it even hits $1. But we'll see. What is this? Oh, no. So just talking about Doge briefly. You didn't read my comments on YouTube, so I came on. Oh. Damn it, Sam. Sorry. I'll read your comments on YouTube. I was getting distracted. Buy the dip on Tattooed Chef. Yeah, that was an interesting stock you mentioned. Sam, Tattooed Chef, and I briefly talked about it in the Discord. Also, if anyone wants to join the Discord, it's free. Link is in the bio. Got some Discord people in the chat right now on both YouTube and Insta. But Tattooed Chef was a stock that's kind of brought up, trading at $1.3 billion. I mean, the story is, it's a new growth play in terms of, this healthier lifestyle food. It's growing at a high pace. But for me, I was just saying that, even though it is a growing stock, it's still one of these growth stocks that has room to fall even further, even though it seems like, okay, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Even though it came from the upper 20s, I think, it's still trading at 1.3 billion. Revenue is only 150 million. I was saying, unless the revenue growth is 100%, their margins are smaller. I don't really love food businesses unless it's already a gigantic company, and like PepsiCo. PepsiCo is a company I own mostly for the fact that it has a dividend. It's growing the dividend. It's very profitable. Pretty safe bet. Now, granted, I'm not going to get a 3x with PepsiCo. So I guess from a more speculative bet, Tattooed Chef makes sense to me. But I'm not just putting a huge percentage of my portfolio into speculation. I tend to put a majority of my portfolio in kind of bigger size companies or mega caps, basically, that are still growing at a good pace. So something like Facebook, even though it's a massive company, is still actually growing at insane rates. Whereas something like AT&T, obviously massive company, but I mean that thing isn't going anywhere, and you're just basically collecting a dividend check. Fernando, let's see. Let's do one of the trivia questions. And the first one. So everyone, this is where I do it on YouTube. That's kind of the incentive for people to use YouTube. Trying to grow on YouTube. Shameless plug, I know. But that's where I've been doing the trivia. And so the first question is, what is the ticker symbol for Dogecoin? And Josh, I will answer your question. I know you're probably sick of hearing about GME, but what do you think of its beta of minus 30? Is the beta, Fernando, you got it. It's Dogecoin, yeah. Or it's DOGE. So let me mark you as the winner on that one. So, Josh, to answer your question about GME, let's take a look. Beta of minus 1.82. Honestly, if you're seeing a beta of minus 30, something might be wrong, or it's basically saying that it's completely negatively correlated with the stock market. Honestly, a lot of the statistics when it comes to GameStop is probably going to be wonky just because of the move it's made, and it is pretty uncorrelated. The first question went to Fernando. Let's see. What do you think about altcoins? For me, I'm not really in altcoins, and just for everyone's not. I mean, basically, I'm in 3 coins in terms of crypto positions, and I really haven't changed it. It's Bitcoin, Chainlink, and Ethereum. Biggest position is in Ethereum, then Bitcoin, then Chainlink. I guess if you consider, Ethereum and Chainlink as altcoins, then those would be the 2 that I'm in. Thoughts on Tesla this week? Sure, let's talk about Tesla briefly. Do they have earnings this week? They do. Oh, wait, no. Is it next week? They have earnings next week. Let's talk about Tesla after their earnings. Let's not talk. I don't really have too much to talk about Tesla, actually. Hometown International is the next new big play. What's Hometown? Is Hometown International the deli? I heard about this. Was it Zayd? Yeah, I think Zayd Admani. If you guys don't follow him on TikTok or Instagram, but he made a little video on it, and that's where I first learned about it. Actually, this whole deli that's trading for $100 million in market cap. Yeah, definitely laundering or some shady stuff going on with that. Uh, it was a funny little news story, but yeah, I wouldn't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. What do you also think about big banks selling massive amounts of bonds? Massive amounts of bonds to what? Raise capital? Look at the huge volume. Yeah, Josh, I'm not sure what why they'd be doing that. Look at the huge volume. On the Hometown International, does it actually have decent volume? I would have to look at on this. What is it? HWIN. Are people actually trading this thing? Oh god, it doesn't even show up in stock charts. That's how you know it's bad. All right, let's talk about something other than HWIN. All right, let's go back to Instagram real quick. Can you talk about Fiverr? Proof of work still doesn't work. What's Cardano do? Hey, Humphrey, what's up? I mean, Cardano is just another smart contract platform, basically. And it's already working with proof of stake, which Ether is trying to get to. Is Corsair going to bounce back? I mean, nothing for me has really changed with Corsair. It's not one of those huge growth stocks in terms of like sustained 40% increases in revenue year over year. But I think it's one of those plays that still will have steady rises in revenue and profits. And I mean, I'm still holding on to my Corsair. I haven't really changed anything. Haven't increased my position yet. Honestly, if it gets into the 20s, I'll probably increase my position a little bit. But for now, I'm happy with the position I'm in. And like I said, if this thing goes into the mid 20s, I mean, I would have to probably add a little bit more. Oh yeah. Welcome back. Well, yeah, the microphone on YouTube is the Yeti that's sitting in front of me. You can't see it on Instagram, but the Instagram is literally, the live is just on my phone, so I don't have a speaker on that thing, so it's probably like me yelling at it. You went to college, and if so, what did you study, or where did you become knowledgeable? So I went to Indiana University, double majored in finance and accounting. Obviously that helps, but a lot of my investing knowledge is honestly just kind of gained over the years through self-education. And then, I mean, having a background in finance and accounting does help understand some concepts. It just quickens the learning curve, but that's about it. Anyone can pretty much learn. How are you hedging against inflation? One, I have Bitcoin, so for me that's a little bit of a hedge against inflation. Two, some of my investments in my portfolio is more geared towards commodities. I don't have any gold or anything, but in terms of like oil, I own some oil ETFs, which realistically those ETFs are basically like ExxonMobil and Chevron. It's like 50% of the ETF that I own, VDE, from Wall Street Bets, right? Oh, what I'm showing on the screen. Yeah, Corsair. But yeah, those are my kind of plays against inflation. So now that we have a little brief pause and questions, I did want to also talk about Johnson & Johnson just briefly, because the other day it had a little pullback, and I just want to talk about it. I know I mentioned on the Discord, but basically it had come out that the vaccine had a little hiccup. We had this pullback to like 157. And for me, it was, okay, they're going to re-release the vaccine and like nothing will have changed, which ended up happening. But I was actually curious, and I thought it was kind of interesting for everyone to know this. But I didn't realize how much the vaccine would bring in revenue. And so I did just, Google this article, and it was pretty helpful. It explained the different revenues for different companies and like how much was expected from each vaccine. I didn't realize that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was going to be around 1 billion doses globally, and each shot was about $10. So that's about $10 billion. And when you're looking at stocks, or kind of when I look at stocks, and you're making a play based on a new product or maybe an existing product and it's doing really well, one thing that's really good to look at, in my opinion, is how much of that like current revenue, how much would it increase based off this product. So if we look at Johnson & Johnson, something like trailing 12 months of $82 billion, and 10 billion divided by 82, I mean, you're talking about 12% of the current revenue would be kind of more of a one-time bump from the vaccine, which is pretty significant. I didn't realize that it was that much. I guess in my head, I thought it was a smaller percentage, like a billion, but 15 billion next year. Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it was that much money. So, good to know now, I guess. But yeah, quarterly results for Johnson & Johnson did come out. Looks like they were decent results. When I pulled up the 10Q, or this is basically the presentation regarding first quarter results, worldwide sales pretty much were up 7.9% quarter over quarter, or year over year basically, for Q1. So it looks like it was good earnings, or like pretty much what was it, slightly better than expectations for earnings for Johnson & Johnson. I mean, it's one of those companies that I was talking about. I did a story on it, but basically, if you have Johnson & Johnson's in your portfolio, and this thing is up, 2%, which isn't a ton, but this thing will just slowly grind higher over time, because this is the kind of company that just slowly continues to grow, slowly continues to grow their earnings. And I mean, just look at this chart. It's literally just like, it's one of those perfect, like, okay, as the economy grows, as the population gets bigger, I mean, this thing is just going to continue to go up and to the right. But yeah, Johnson & Johnson is what they call a stalwart, or basically a company. It's like a forever stock. So it's always interesting to keep up to date with those, as well as I know it's super exciting to invest in only the growth stocks. But if you come to find my portfolio, which I think I'll make a YouTube video a little bit more in depth on my portfolio, just like high level. But yeah, you'll see that, I mean, a lot of my stocks that I own are some of these bigger companies. I bought into Walgreens a while back, and that has done well. Yeah, Walgreens, I believe, let's look. Actually, I haven't really paid attention to Walgreens. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those stocks, also slower growth, but, the dividend yield 3.48%. Why is the P? Did they lose money last year? Yeah, the return on equity doesn't look great. I mean, the revenue is pretty slow. Actually, they have a ton of debt. I don't know. Walgreens, I probably wouldn't. I'm actually not a big fan of Walgreens, probably. If I had to pick between Walgreens and Johnson & Johnson, I'd pick Johnson & Johnson. 15 billion bump, but how much to generate, research, production, etc.? That's a great point. One of the comments on Instagram was saying, okay, there's a $15 billion bump in revenue, but at the end of the day also is, what is the profit margin on that $15 billion? I have no idea. I don't know what it costs to come up with the vaccine. I don't know the ongoing operating expenses. But if you did know that, at the end of the day, I mean, it's how much profit the company's able to generate from the revenue. So great point. So you need to know what percentage of the revenue a new product will bring, and then also how much profit is that new product going to be bringing in as well, right? Important questions, so definitely good to know. What's up, smart investor? What do you think of Microsoft acquiring Nuance? I mean, as a Microsoft investor, honestly, I'd like to see them use some of that cash that they got. I mean, why not continue to grow? And buying Nuance, which is basically just like a speech recognition software, right? AI. I mean, I looked into the company briefly. Basically, the majority of the stuff is healthcare. But I was saying, like, it totally makes sense for them to buy it in terms of, like, speech recognition software and being able to do it through AI. I mean, think of the customer service and documentation for me is, like, just the two easy answers of, like, synergy. I mean, all of their communication platforms, if you can just have speech recognition in that, my first thought was just, like, Microsoft Teams. If you have a meeting and it's just listening to you, it could just write all the notes for you, and that'd be amazing. So I like the play by Microsoft to buy Nuance. I mean, I have no idea if they overpaid or anything. I mean, for me though, their cash position was just getting massive. What was it at? The balance sheet as of the most recent quarter, $132 billion of cash for Microsoft. Pretty nuts when you think about that amount of cash. Just to imagine $132 billion sitting in cash and cash equivalents. Put that to work, you know what I'm saying? Mitch, your question, if you had to choose one, Apple or Microsoft? I would probably go with Microsoft. For me, it comes down to the growth potential. And don't get me wrong, Apple is a great company. I think Apple will be fine. But in terms of higher growth rates, Microsoft seems to be the move. Even though Microsoft, was it $2 trillion versus Apple, which is $2.2 trillion. So Apple is bigger in terms of market cap. Let's just look at the PE. 36 on Apple. 36 on Apple, 38 on Microsoft. But if you just look at Microsoft is expected to grow at like 18% earnings, whereas Apple, I'm just using Yahoo Finance here, 14%. So Microsoft has a little bit more growth. Also, what I like about Microsoft, I think, is that it's more software dependent. If I have to pick software versus hardware, I'm always going to pick software. Just because hardware is one of those things where you just have to keep on selling it and selling it more. Microsoft has gotten really good at the subscription business and really being like integrated into these large businesses. Not that like Apple's going away. They're obviously integrating people's lives too. I mean, I have an iPhone. I mean, I'm pretty much sucked into the ecosystem, and their whole big play is like the Apple Store, and obviously they have ecosystems that like people aren't going to go away from either. But in terms of where the like real money is, I think Microsoft being like more focused on like business to business instead of consumer allows them to, I think, have higher profit margins, one. And then secondly, the money's just going to keep on flowing through. And it's a subscription basis. Like all the big companies just run on Microsoft. Tacos. I like the new iMacs they presented today. Did they present something new? Is it actually something new, or did they just market it to be something new? Let's see. I don't want to randomly look for articles. Apple debuts iPad Pro. Is that what you're talking about, Fernando? I don't know. Let's do another trivia question. on YouTube. Let's see here. Okay, so question is, what animal is associated with a down market? What animal? What do I do with my ARK investments? Hold or sell or move on? I mean, that's totally up to you. For me, ARK is basically a play on all the growth, and as I was saying, growth is kind of still at a premium, so there could be some more downside. But obviously, at some point, some of these names like Palantir, for me, they'll get closer to fair value, which I feel like fair value for Palantir is probably like $17. And I would be way more comfortable with making a bigger position in my portfolio. Yatsen Pack, you put Panda. It is a bear, but Hamza, sorry if I butchered your name, but you won that one. And if you don't know, down markets is known as a bearish market, bear market, all that good stuff. But really, we haven't seen a bear market, technically since the COVID crash. We were in a bear market briefly, and then we just springboarded to a mega bull market. Yeah, you guys got it. Bear market. Diamond hands. Let's see. Well, yeah, so if I skip over your comment, it's not because I hate you, it's just because I didn't see it, or I was just answering someone else. So Slat, what do you think about space? I've been buying the whole dip. I'm aware it's high risk. Just want your thoughts on it. So I do have thoughts on space, and I've had thoughts on space for a while. Now, this is one of my least favorite crazy growth stocks, for one reason and one reason alone. If you look at their revenue, and I understand this, it's based on future projections, right? But their revenue is $238,000 for the trailing 12 months. This company is valued at $5.32 billion. Basically, if everyone starts to panic as an investor and they start to realize that they are paying an insane premium for these growth stocks like Space, SPCE, if they all realize, what am I doing paying for a company valued at $5.3 billion for a $238,000 revenue? What in the world? I mean, I don't know when the revenue is supposed to spike to hundreds of millions of dollars, but it probably needs to happen for me to even look at it. So yeah, my opinion on Space, I would not touch this thing. I mean, I know people made money on it, spiking to, what did it go up to, like 54? I also saw Kathy Woods sold it or something. I don't know. Everyone was panicking about her selling it. I don't know. Chamath sold it as well. So, I don't know. I'm not touching it. Fernando, new iPads and new iMacs with new design, new M1 chip. Gotcha. I mean, I feel like Apple really hasn't innovated too much over the past few years. I mean, I think the biggest thing was AirPods, right? I mean, I have them. I do enjoy AirPods, but like, it wasn't that crazy of an idea. I just think Apple needs to come out with better new ideas. They need to do the Apple Car, guys. They need to come out with their own electric vehicle. Even though electric vehicle companies are losing their hype, but still, could be big for them. What are thoughts on luxury industry? You mean just luxury in general? I think, it really depends on like what kind of market we're in. I think luxury markets, they're not as dependent, I guess, on the overall economy, because rich people, I mean, they're not as affected. But I guess it depends also when you say luxury, you're talking about yachts or you're talking about like high-end clothing. Higher end clothing, probably, I wouldn't touch just because I'm not into clothing companies. And I don't know, luxury brands for me, it's hard to invest in because they have boom years, right? Like they're the hot item, everyone's interested in it, and then 3 years later, their brand goes to shit, and then no one wants it, and the company's earnings crumble. So for me, I usually don't go into those type of businesses. Josh, yeah, but I've been in it for a while, seeing it as a long-term trade. Flying phones, that's what they need, Sam. Flying phones, for sure. What's GOEV? Canoe? Consumer cyclical? Oh. Yeah. Must be a luxury brand. Let's see what else we got. Devani. Oh, cryptocurrency just in general. Sure, I can talk about just cryptocurrency in general. I think people, tend to focus on the short term when it comes to cryptocurrency. Will Bitcoin go to 100,000 this year? I think so. I think it will. But, it may not, and it may correct 60%. I mean, no one knows for sure, right? I mean, looking at past cycles, everyone's trying to estimate where it's going to go. But I think in terms of if you buy cryptocurrency and something like Bitcoin and hold it for at least 4 to 5 years, I think it will be a decent investment in terms of return on investment still. When you buy into an altcoin, it's basically gambling. If there's 1,400 projects, you're just hoping that the one project that you invested in, something doesn't come along and beat it out. At least with, I guess Bitcoin, the argument is, okay, why does it have to be Bitcoin as the one that has staying power? It's because it has first mover advantage, secure, it's like digital gold. And pretty much everyone has accepted it as this is the digital gold. So for cryptocurrency in general, I only really talk about long term. And for cryptocurrency, long term isn't a year. Cryptocurrency is at least 4 years. Just because once you go through a cycle as an investor, you realize that basically after every 4 to 5 years, at any point of investing, you would have made money. And I think it's still a relatively good bet for the risk reward. Thoughts on Mara? Yeah, so Mara and Riot, people tend to trade these for exposure to Bitcoin. And for me, I'd rather just own Bitcoin instead of owning these companies that actually I don't know how much money are these companies making. Are they actually making money or are they losing money? Because that's what's hard for me with these mining companies is that they're bid up so much because they're involved in cryptocurrency, but you're really buying a business when it comes to Mara or Riot. And so I think it's just weird for people to trade these as vehicles of owning Bitcoin. If you're going to own a company because it owns Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, what's his name? Oh my God, I forget the CEO of MicroStrategy. Something, I cannot remember the guy's name. He's a nut for Bitcoin. But anyway, the CEO of MicroStrategy bought a ton of Bitcoin. And basically their entire market cap is because of Bitcoin. And so that's a better proxy for Bitcoin if I'm going to buy something versus Mara or Riot. Yeah, I agree, Sam. Crazy valuation of Mara and Riot, but Galaxy Digital is valued nicely. Michael Saylor, thank you. I was like, what is that guy's name? Thank you, guys. I'm losing my mind. Digital wallets will be in every pocket in every country. yeah, I don't think cryptocurrency is going away. And I do agree, um, digital wallets. I mean, right now, if you think about the banking system, it's pretty much already digital. I mean, the only problem right now is maybe you got friction in currencies globally. So a USD, um, you know, versus a euro or something like that, there's friction still. Continue to hold X. So I don't own X. I trade X because it has higher beta. I still like steel. I don't think really anything has changed. Once I do start to see steel prices come down a little bit though, and if I start to see the futures out a couple months start to dip, probably anything like below 1,000, that's probably when I'll slightly change my viewpoint on steel. Just because what tends to happen in the steel industry is prices are good, right? These companies are starting to make money. They come out with good earnings, and then all of a sudden, all these companies just pump up their capacity and start shooting out steel. They're making, right? And then all of a sudden, the market no longer needs that steel, or they've created so much supply that the price comes down, and then all of a sudden they have excess supply. They've built up inventories, and then they screwed themselves over. It happens every time when it comes to like steel or these like commodity businesses. They continue to make while times are good. As soon as I start to see this pricing though and the futures kind of come down, I'll probably get less bullish on steel. But right now, I don't think anything has changed with steel. Obviously, the upside potential isn't as high, but I think you can still make money in steel to the long side. Do you think crypto is too volatile to be considered a legitimate currency? No. I mean, the problem with cryptocurrency is not I mean, you can still use a currency when it's volatile. It does make it harder, though, to do business. I'll give you that. And it just needs time to stabilize. So I think, actually, you know what? I take back what I said. Right now, it is too volatile to use it as like a universal currency, in my opinion. I think it has to get so popular that the volatility lessens. And then once you don't have as much volatility, then people can actually use it for business. And I think it'll be easier for everyday purchases. I mean, you can always use a stable coin, but that's, pegged to the dollar. Kevin, thoughts on Clover? Yeah, so Clover, I know there's like a big short interest on it. Was it Chamath or Chamath? I always screw up his name. Chamath. He was an investor, but basically there was some lawsuit around them having legal issues, and then it kind of crashed. I honestly don't know enough about Clover to speak intelligently on it. Revenue of $690 million. Revenue of $690 million, but $3 billion valuation. The price of sales doesn't look insane. But Kevin, I don't know about the whole situation with Clover related to like the lawsuit or the legal issues that they were dealing with. Are you long lumber futures? I am not. I don't usually trade futures. I wouldn't even know how on what exchange I could go and buy lumber futures. I know lumber's going insane right now in terms of pricing. Let's do rapid fire. Let's do 2 questions for trivia on YouTube back to back. What is it called when someone uses borrowed money to invest? Ooh, Robin, that's a good question. Also, Smith, I'll answer that. So I'll answer Smith first. Still holding Amazon? Yes, I'm holding Amazon. Still one of my favorite plays on the board for a bigger stock. And yeah, Josh, you got it. The answer is margin. And Josh, you won that one. But yeah, margin is when you borrow money to invest. I don't recommend doing that. It's always it's less nerve-wracking when you don't have to worry about borrowed money when you're investing. And then actually, let's ask back to back. Let's go nuts in the YouTube chat. Who is the author of One Up on Wall Street? So I do still hold Amazon. Robin, your question around the rumored tweet that caused crypto to crash, basically the U.S. Treasury charging financial firms with laundering. I mean, I think that's bound to happen. That happens with banks right now, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be cryptocurrency to deal with laundering. I was talking to my friend, but basically something like that, where there's issues with regulation. I think there'll be workarounds, and I think there'll be like agreements, and hopefully they build regulation that allows cryptocurrency to flourish. Just because, like, in my opinion, if the government tries to shut down, Fernando, you got that one, Peter Lynch. If the government tries to shut down Bitcoin and another country opens their arms to it, that other country will get all the business related to Bitcoin. And if the world continues to basically say, hey, I want to be able to use cryptocurrency instead of whatever fiat, then like that money speaks. So basically, I don't think they're going to do anything crazy and like ban Bitcoin. Also taxes, right? Revenue from that. Yeah, also, I had asked who's the author of One Up on Wall Street. I'm almost done with the book. I'm actually upset I didn't read it earlier, but I got around to reading it. It's a really good book. If you haven't read it, Peter Lynch, for beginner investors, it's a lot. He simplifies it a lot easier in terms of like practical knowledge instead of like technical, like, hey, this is what COGS means, or hey, this is what you want to look at on the balance sheet. He doesn't go into like the technical mumbo jumbo. He talks practical learnings and like how anyone can kind of look at investing. And even someone like me, I found a lot of it very useful. And what was interesting is I actually, without realizing it, I kind of used some of his philosophies already for investing, which was kind of interesting to me. But yeah, definitely a good read for anyone that hasn't read it yet. One Up on Wall Street, great book. Technical analysis or book valuation. So Peter Lynch does not believe in technical analysis at all. I mean, for me, I use a little bit of technical analysis, but I kind of agree with them. It's a little bit of witchcraft and art versus an exact science. I'm not... it's a little bit like astrology to me. I mean, sure, sometimes you can be right, but I think if it can be 100% automated with pure technicals, then you have no chance against a computer. Basically, that's my thought process. Is Peter Lynch still alive? I think he's still alive, yeah. How are you going to play the run-up to earnings for Tesla? I'm not in Tesla, don't have an investment. I need to do a full valuation on Tesla and reevaluate it just to see what I think would be a fair price. Because I basically always said like I'd be interested in buying Tesla, but basically 2020 it ran up so fast and so far that me buying into kind of it running up was like that's not my investment style. So if I missed out on Tesla on the run-up, I mean, that's just due to me being a little boneheaded and not wanting to pay a premium for stocks. Margin, leverage. Hi, beginner here. Do REITs, would you struggle if the interests go up? I think you're saying would REITs struggle if the interest rates go up. I mean, yeah, it's not great for real estate if interest rates go up, just because, I mean, I guess it would cost more to borrow money. But yeah, you're right. I think regulations have to be in place to prevent these allegations. Let's see, what's the name? Oh, what's the name of the book? Henley Cowan, One Up on Wall Street. Thoughts on oil? You nailed the steel craze before it popped. Did you get out? No, I'm still in steel. I did take some profits off in steel. In terms of oil, I mean, I was saying earlier, I basically own VDE, which if you look at VDE, basically the breakdown is like 50% of it is ExxonMobil and Chevron. I think Chevron, honestly, is probably positioned better than Exxon. A little better balance sheet, and I think they generate a little bit better free cash flow. Not as much debt holding them down. But anyway, I own VDE. I think oil, I think it still stays stable up here at $62. I mean, potentially you have a run-up in oil because of demand as well as possibly some inflationary pressure. So I have exposure to oil. How long does something like that take you, looking at evaluation and whatnot, to make sure of your position? So Josh, I would say, you can kind of do an analysis on a stock if you already have a position in it, understand the background, understand kind of what your thesis was around it in, a few hours, like 4 to 5 hours. Kind of just re-looking at all the assumptions. The first time you look at it, 8 to 10 hours, I would say. Peter Lynch alive, going strong at 77. Do you ever trade naked options? So I'll short puts. I'll short put options. I don't usually tend to sell naked calls just because of the possibility of unlimited losses. I mean, occasionally I guess I do through selling a strangle, but I try not to sell naked calls. But in terms of short puts, cash secured puts, I'll do that on names I don't mind owning. And then if the implied volatility is really high in a stock, I may dip my toes into selling puts, even though, I don't have like a strong conviction in holding it. The implied volatility rank will suck me in sometimes. Is there any difference between options trading and conditional trading? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by conditional trading, because I don't know what that is. I don't know how to answer. Tesla, for example. Oh, yeah, for Josh, your question around Tesla. So for something like that, for me, probably like 5 to 6 hours to look at it. About buying naked calls / puts, William. So for me, I don't tend to buy options. The reason I don't buy options is you basically have to be right on the timing and the direction. And I don't pretend to know exactly where the market's going in the short term. And if I am trying to, kind of make an educated guess on a short-term movement, I like to sell options or sell spreads because that allows me to actually be wrong. I can be wrong on the direction and I can still be right. Basically, once I learned that, it was game over for me buying naked calls and puts. Realistically, you're using leverage when you buy the naked calls and puts, and you can make a lot more money in the short term if you're right on the direction and timing. Depending on how you use them, you can buy leap contracts, and essentially, it's less about being right in the short term. But that's my opinion on buying naked calls and puts. All right. I'm going to ask one more question, one more trivia question on YouTube. And let's see if anyone knows this one. So what is the last stock I made a YouTube video on? And I just made it today. It's the latest buy that I made in the portfolio. And we'll see if anyone watched it yet. I'd love to hear your opinions. I don't have a position in Ford or GM. I think I'd rather own GM than Ford. Josh, no. Hamza, yeah. Well, I'm assuming, yeah, you got it. Flower, 1-800-Flowers, yeah. Oh man, I didn't, who was the margin person? Josh was margin. Oops. Who was the one that got Peter Lynch? Fernando. Alright, sorry, I'm just typing stuff out. So I did make a video on flowers, if anyone wants to check it out. Flowers.com or 1-800-Flowers. Basically, it's a value play. Made a full video on kind of my thesis behind it. But basically, it's been beaten up. Fears over COVID, kind of stripping out the revenue gains that they saw in 2020. I believe it's a little overdone. And realistically, even if there's minimal growth in terms of revenue, or actually a retraction revenue, I still think the stock should be worth more. It's profitable, specialty retail. Definitely not a normal name I look at, but it's a smaller cap company. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. PEG ratio under 1, decent free cash flow. They just bought a business, personalization mall. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, go take a watch and see my thesis on it. But yeah, I'll probably end it here. I do appreciate everyone joining on Instagram as well as YouTube. For all the YouTube people that commented, just message me in the Discord, and I'll make sure to, set you up for getting the trivia answers right. So, like I said, appreciate you guys on both live streams, and I'll post this on Instagram Live as well as post the replay on YouTube. So, appreciate everyone for joining. Sorry if I didn't get to your answer. Sorry if I didn't get to your question. Try and answer them all. A lot going on, a lot of talking. So, appreciate you guys, and have a great day.